Grab your cocktail and get ready for this episode of the Old Fashioned Masonic Podcast. Welcome to the Old Fashioned Masonic Podcast, where we talk all things Freemasons while drinking an old fashioned. I'm Brian, and to the left or right of me, depending on how you see this on Zoom, Brother Sandy Newman out of Texas. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Last time we spoke, it was in January of 2025 at the Grand Lodge of Texas session. You helped us do some social media marketing for the Grand Lodge. So it's nice to talk to you again. But more than that, everyone who saw the thumbnail coming in, you guys are wondering what we're talking about, wondering what that big old belt is, and how does it relate to Masonry. But before we get there, as we do on every episode, we're going to push all that noise to the side. We want to know who Sandy the man is. So tell us your story, but push Masonry to the side, my friend.
Wow, that's a big question. I'm not sure. I think I'm still trying to figure out who I am, right? I'm reinventing myself as I go. I was a military brat. My father was in for over 30 years. My grandfather was in for probably about the same. Korean Vietnam War. And my other grandfather was in World War I, World War II. And I'm the first generation to not go in the military. So, but I came from that nomadic background, right? So I moved around every 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
Making new friends, kind of cruise around the country. And that probably defined a little bit of kind of who I am and, why I'm kind of easier to relate to, I guess. I had to make a new set of friends every couple of years, one of those guys.
Yeah, I think you can almost always tell the Army Brats. As a former Army Brat, we used to keep our boxes folded up under our beds. That's just this is how we did it, right? And
Yep.
But I do think, as an Army Brat, you always had a chance to reinvent yourself. So if you're like, oh gosh, I just didn't fit it, you could reinvent yourself and kind of morph into,
Yep.
they always thought of me as this. So I do think that if you're an extrovert and want to embrace the situation, being an Army Brat's pretty darn awesome.
No, that's an interesting point. Yeah, because you kind of build an identity where you're at, and then you move to the next spot. You kind of expound on that identity, or kind of grow in another direction. Or
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. So what do you do? Are you independently wealthy? Are you a gigolo? Or are you a dancer? Tell us what's your vocation?
Yeah, so none of the above. Currently I was in corporate America for about 25 years. I've been in real estate. I'm a real estate broker here in Texas. I've been doing this for, creeping up on 10 years, I think. And just kind of got tired of corporate America at some point and got tired of going to an office every day and all that kind of stuff. So doing this, but it's real estate has its ups and downs, right? You
really
eat what you
does.
kill, so that's the way it rolls. But I enjoy it. So I'm always working, I'm always off. So
Right. Isn't that the thing? And just like any good person in real estate, if you know somebody's looking to buy and selling, please reach out to Sandy Newman.
yeah, absolutely. Love to help.
So where are you at in Texas?
So I am in New Braunfels, Texas, and I've been here almost 20 years.
All right. So those who don't know Texas very well, really in between San Antonio and Austin, just down I-35, and New Braunfels has a great German festival there.
Yep.
And also, I believe, is Schlitterbahn there, the big water park?
Yeah, Schlitterbahn is here. We're right in the middle of the German belt, of Texas. And what's cool about this area is we have the rivers. We've got a bunch of rivers in the area.
The Guadalupe.
The Guadalupe, the Comal, the San Marcos, the Blanco. It's all in here. So we're the water recreation capital of Texas.
I love it. I love it. Well, so again, anybody that's been to Texas and you've gone down 35 all the way to San Antonio, you've passed New Braunfels.
Yep.
So let's talk about your Masonic journey. Let's talk about why you joined and up to where you're at today. And let's leave out that shiny bling. We're going to come back to that.
Yeah, no worries. So I grew up around Masons. So my grandfather, both sides were Masons, great grandfathers as well. Grandmothers and great grandmothers were Eastern Star. My father was not into it. He never joined it. So I kind of had a little bit of a disconnect there, but I grew up around it and I always saw it and kind of knew what was going on. Um, I told my grandfather before he passed, I think that was 2014. He mentioned it to me, and I said, "Hey, I'm going to circle up to it at some point, And I got to a point where the kids were older. I got all the kids are out of the house now, right? And I decided it was time. Once the last one was in high school, I figured it was time to go check it out. A friend of mine received the Golden Trowel, and I reached out to him, and I'm like, you know what? I've been thinking about, how do I approach masonry? I saw you just got this award, so tell me about this and what's my approach look like? How do I come at masonry? How do I get started? How do I learn more? And then he told me to show up at the lodge, tell him what I was there for, tell him he sent me, and then, be prepared to talk to some people about, my belief systems and boom, there I go. So I was right into it. Um,
And so what year was that?
so that was probably 5 years ago.
Okay, 5 years ago.
Yep.
So you joined what lodge?
So New Braunfels Lodge number 1109.
So you about 5 years ago, and so in Texas and a lot of jurisdictions, you prove up in between each degree, right?
Hmm.
And how long did it take you from start to finish in Texas?
Uh, the whole process, mine was a little delayed because the pandemic hit right about
Yeah.
then, right? So the
Yep.
pandemic, I got in, was initiated, and then the pandemic hit, so they stopped having meetings for a while. I think the officers were meeting via Zoom, or something similar back then.
Right.
Zoom is kind of like won out in those wars, but it's probably Skype or something back then, who knows?
It was. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was delayed, and then I came back and got into it back in the system, and then our secretary, who'd been the secretary for I think 20 something years, had a massive heart attack in the parking lot, and we lost him. He was amazing. I still have his card right here in front of me, actually, in my office. But so the lodge kind of slowed down a little bit from that. So I kind of had a delayed start, but once I got in, we kind of got running. We had, somebody else new in place, and so the lodge was going through some changes as I was coming in, basically, right?
Right.
Some big changes, and so probably, I mean, I don't know time, probably with those things, maybe 6, 7 months, something like that. I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
I,
That
but
makes
those dates are all on the Grand Lodge site. I could actually look those up and tell you, but I don't have the
sure.
data in my head. I'm not thinking about it.
Right. Right. So you became a master mason from there. Did you join any other independent bodies?
I did. I went to Scottish Rite initially, because I've always been interested. I tell new Masons, everybody's Masonic journey is their own, right? It's different, right?
Yep. Your masonry and my masonry are different for sure.
Right. So different things. And I was really interested in the esoteric stuff. I've got a philosophy background, um, and I want to learn more about the esoteric. So I went to Scottish Rite to kind of find that light, and then also joined the York Rite, and last year became a Shriner. So now
Okay.
my activity level in the Blue Lodge far surpasses what I do in the independent bodies, right? At least to this point, because I've been working on, getting in the East and, did all the work that takes, right? But yeah, so I'm a member of all the independent bodies, um, but not very active.
Yeah, I think that's a great. I mean, again, everyone's masonry is different. I think that's a great path. You kind of get your foundation, get your legs under you, and get your clock started at the other places, and then kind of find your rhythm. So, in 2025 here, you guys had elections of officers in. I think you do that in July in Texas. Is that
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So, are you in a chair?
So I just came out of the East, and I am taking on the awesome responsibility of secretary this year.
Oh, I knew that's what you were going to say with the wind up. As it say in Texas, bless his heart, because he is going to have a lot of stuff going on. That is quite the position.
Yeah.
What's the membership count at your lodge roughly?
I think we're about 300, something like that.
Okay, so you're good sized lodge. Yeah, that's for sure. So secretary and then anybody who's been a secretary or admired and said, "Oh my gosh, I would never do that." Everyone kind of sit back and do that slow clap that Sandy
Yeah.
took the position for his lodge, so nobody else had to be voluntold.
Right, exactly. I volunteer for this duty.
Well, there's no accounting for taste, right?
Yeah.
So no, I love it. I love it. So let's talk about something cool. So in Texas and Mason, social media, you find a lot of things about social media. Maybe we'll touch on this a little bit later. But if we are not right here with current and or new Masons, we are absolutely nowhere. So I'm going to push that to the side because I could definitely get on a soapbox.
Yep.
But scrolling through, our mod said, "Hey, do you know who this guy is?" I said, "In fact, I do. I've met him. What's this thing all about?" So they show me, and guys, up on the screen, you'll see this beautiful belt that looks like a world championship wrestling belt. Sandy, what in the world is it? I've got questions, but let's start with this. Why did it start?
I'll tell you how it started, and it's probably not a great story, but I heard about a traveling gavel program that
Yeah.
existed, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, what is that? Where's that at? How do you find what? And I just, tell me more. I'm understand what that is. And it never really, no one really knew about it. No one knew kind of where it was, what it was doing, how to get it, and I was like, well, okay, so that's kind of a non-starter. So I was kind of like, well, that's not very exciting, right?
Plus, you can misplace a gavel.
Right. Well, this thing's huge.
Well, yeah, I know
I've I've
yours. I'm talking about
I've
it.
found it since. I found the
Oh, is it
gavel.
like that big boy back there?
It's a big one. I've seen it. I know where it lives in our district now, but I didn't know
Okay.
before.
Okay.
Um, so I was at a officer leadership training in Corpus Christi, and a couple of brothers from Arkansas who are awesome. Love those guys. And we were talking about the traveling gavel and kind of what they do, and they had a program where they had brought a belt into Arkansas and they had opened it up. I'm like, okay, tell me more, right? So they told me all about it, how it goes, how it works. And I'm like, this is a great idea. Like this is something that's cool. They've got it on Facebook, So I stole the idea. This is Pottsville Lodge. So Kevin Burnham, Bill Teeter, it's props to y'all. Lucas Minton was there with me. Sean Casto, those are the guys I was with that weekend. And so I know a good idea when I steal one, right?
Yeah.
So basically, I got the program from them. They sent me the details, kind of how they did the instructions, and I tweaked it a little bit to make sense for kind of the way I saw it happening in Texas, right? And the idea, really was to design like a competition that's kind of fun, right? So basically bring some fun back into masonry, just kind of,
Yeah.
I want to have fun in masonry, right? And and make it a competition. And I thought, if we keep this thing top of mind on Facebook, social media, if we encourage if we encourage people to go out and take photographs with it in their local area. There's some great ones on our Facebook page.
Well, there are. And those who have been listening to Sandy talk, you guys have seen some of these photos scrolling across. And so that he provided absolutely great. And I can't remember, does the Traveling Belt have his own page?
It does.
It does. So check our video description, folks, and you'll see the Facebook link to that traveling page so you can find out where it is. But before you guys get too wild, like I was thinking, I said, I'm going to bring a crew down from Kansas. We're going to come bring that belt to Texas. And it's not so fast, my friend. You got to read the rules. The rules clearly state that no out of towners, no out of jurisdictions can take that belt.
Yeah,
Am I
it's got to.
understanding?
Yep,
Yeah.
it's got to stay in Texas. The traveling gavel is like an inter-district thing, or intra-district program that I've heard about, that I've seen. And the belt, my thought was the whole state, open it up. But even then, I wasn't sure how it would actually be perceived, right? So you have to get it, you have to give birth to it, get it launched. I did some videos, and basically it's just like I learned in, sales leadership. If you
One
don't if
marketing
you don't believe it,
101.
if you don't believe it, nobody else is going to believe it, right? So you've got to believe
Right.
it. So you got to pump it up. And then once some lodges got excited about it, okay, I got excited. Randolph came and got it like immediately, and they were excited about it, and they took it out, and then Kingsbury picked it up, and then we're starting to gain some steam, and that was in our district, right? And then Live Oak is out of our district, and Live Oak, when they got it, the Gunsight Lodge came up from Galveston, and we had a competition, and
Oh
so that was
man, that's
close.
they're taking it all the way down to the bottom.
Yeah, so it came. So then we had some competition, so it was actually gaining some steam, and then it went to Corpus, the Naval Lodge down there, and it's just yeah. So it's cool to see it. The funny thing is our lodge members like we need to go get it back, and I'm like, well, I don't want to get it back. I want to like push it out of the nest and see where it goes, like Flat Stanley in elementary school, like
Yeah.
where's this thing gonna go? Let's
Well,
let's
I can't
let's
believe you
go.
referred to it as a flat Stanley in Texas and not a flat Brad, because I know there was a flat Brad Billings that was floating around for a while.
Are you
So,
serious? I didn't know that.
let me just tell you, go back and you look at the episode that we did with Greg Wright, and
Uh-huh.
he's the one that created it. You're going to see the flat Brad floating around. So, yes,
Oh,
right,
that's
Worshipful
funny.
Billings. That's the second time we've dropped the flat Brad on this podcast. So,
That's hilarious. I did not. I'll ask Greg about that. I didn't know about that.
yeah.
Cool.
So the feedback's been awesome. So I've got a few things. So this belt, what did the belt cost to purchase and engrave and kind of get set up?
The belt was probably, oh man, it was probably 250, something like that.
Yep. Yep.
So it wasn't crazy. And I
And
had
it
it
came engraved how you wanted it. You
right. There's a whole design process, and I use the same company that the guys in Pottsville used. I got with them, um, and I actually made a miniature one that I still have.
yeah. No, I think
I
that'd
was
be.
like,
Here's one thing I was thinking. I was thinking this. We ought to brainstorm. We're going to let everyone else in on a secret. So we ought to brainstorm. We need to create a belt that separate from the Texas traveling belt, but we need to get a belt that same type of rules. And those who've been listening to us talk, you've seen the rules go across the screen, the different rules for the traveling belt. But how cool would it be, Sandy, you and I create a belt and we'll start it in Texas or Kansas, wherever. And the one of the rules will be it can't go within the same state back to back. Let's see if we can wrap that sucker around the country. That
oh,
would,
it's got to go national.
yeah, because probably in Texas, especially some of the larger cities,
Yeah.
at least in which I'm at, we get a lot of travelers. We've had some Filipino officers, pilots that came. We have a lot of folks with the amount of aviation that we have in Wichita come and visit, and especially our lodge being the size that it is and with the history that we have. That would be a really cool thing to promote some out of town travel to the lodges. Um, that would be cool. I think the Grand Lodges need to do this. I think we have visiting dignitaries that come to
Yep.
different Grand Lodges.
Yep.
Wouldn't that be one that you have the Grand Masters traveling belt that got to move around? I think we could start a movement. What do you think? Am I all wet here?
That would be interesting, right? It'd be interesting to see what kind of traction you could get on that,
Yeah, yeah,
Grandmaster Challenge or something
yeah, yes,
like that.
something along those lines, guys. Just as Sandy said earlier, we know a good idea when we steal it. Steal the idea. We're not going to be too proud. At the end of the day, whatever we can do, my words, not Sandy, Sandy may agree with this, whatever we can do to keep masonry out in front with kind of a fresh approach, that's what we need to be doing, right? Is that fair?
Yeah, for sure.
So, and again, if you guys hadn't been promoting that through social media, our mods would have never brought it our way. And that's the power of the WeberNet, right? That's just the power of getting everything to us.
Got to get it all on the interwebs.
I love. So, have have you had? Has there been any negative feedback? There's always a Karen and Kevin out there. If there is, don't say the person's name. But has there been any negative feedback?
I've not heard anything negative all at all. And I
I
know
don't know what there
there's,
would be, but
yeah, no one's, I did change one rule right off the bat
mm,
because it became obvious. Or I just didn't change, I added a rule. Um, something I didn't think about on the front end was when you have so many lodges that have access to it, potentially their stated meeting nights are going to overlap pretty close, right? So maybe a lodge picks it up on like a Monday and their stated meeting is like Wednesday. And so they could potentially not have it very long, which would not be as fun, right? So I changed the rule that just basically said it's got to be their second stated meeting
right.
after, right? So it's got to skip one because you go to all, and I wrote it up kind of to Grand Lodge resolutions, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Really, if you're going to all the trouble to go get it, you're probably going to hang on to it for a little while, not lose it the very next night, right? So
Right.
that makes more worthwhile to get everybody together, and get the crew and go travel. And so, like in Kingsbury, we had like that one night with Gunsight and Live Oak showed up, and we had like
Yep.
35 people in that lodge that had never been there. It was crazy in the middle of nowhere in Kingsbury, Texas. It was fantastic. But yeah,
Yeah.
so just make sure they can have it longer, hang on to it longer so they can do
Yeah.
their deal. But that was the only
Well,
negative, but no one complained about it. It came up.
yeah.
It was like an aha moment. Like, oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, I was looking through it. I had another question, about the rules, but before I get there, some folks, as you've seen the rules, just say, man, Brian, is there any way I can get a copy of the rules? And I'm going to say, Sandy, with your permission, since you sent it to me, if anybody wants to reach out with the rules, they can email the Old Fashioned Masonic Podcast, and with your permission, can we send them a copy of the rules?
Well, yeah, and they're on the Facebook page too. They're posted there.
There you go. Well, go to the Facebook page, drive some traffic back to that. But if you're lazy and you want to send an email, we'll send it to you in the PDF format. We can certainly do that as well.
Yep.
So, we talked a little bit about social media. This kind of seems like it's wrapping around. It's a belt thing, but I said earlier, if we're not on the phone, we're nowhere. So, my experience in Kansas, and I don't know if you've experienced in Texas. If you have, don't mention the lodge, but my experience in Kansas, the lodges that aren't showing positive movement are the ones that have no social media presence, which is easy, and or no or a poor website. Have you experienced that in your traveling?
Yeah, anecdotally speaking, right? So no hard data,
Right.
but the the world is online, right? Everything is online. And I've got, three kids, 26, 24, and 19. So I
Those
see
that
it.
are watching us
Yeah.
online.
So, right. So if we want to engage, if we want to engage with anybody, Mason, a potential Mason, or just anybody, they're online. You've got to kind of find them where they are. You got to meet them where they are, right? And they
Right.
might be on, just for our own, lodge communication. We work through text, we work through email, we work through a Telegram app. We communicate three or four different ways to try to hit everybody. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
everyone's generational communication is quite different.
Absolutely. And yeah, even the world today, you got five generations in the workforce. I mean, it's insane, right?
Yep.
Um,
And, well,
yeah,
that means we have five generations in a lodge.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I've seen those district numbers here lately. I've been kind of looking at them for our district, and it's an interesting mix. And you can see the kind of lodges, the age, and it kind of it there's a linear relationship between the average age of the lodge and the social media presence online. I mean, it's there, right? And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just what they're used to.
Right.
Um, but if the goal is potentially to grow or to maybe I don't care about growing, I guess, but if you want to engage with people,
Engage.
you got
Yeah.
to find them where they are, right? You've got to engage them where they are. Um, and I don't have the perfect strategy, right? But
Right.
it's you've got to find people where they are. And people are so busy these days. There's so many things going on, and social
Right.
media is almost desensitized people to
Yeah,
just
yeah, it is. You
input,
get to the
right?
death scroll, and we've
Yeah.
had folks reach out and say, "Man, Brian, I'd like to engage, or we want the young guys, but they just don't come to us." Well, the first thing I ask is, "Do you have a website?" No. Okay, we'll push that to the side for now. It's a little more complicated. Do you have a social media, like a Facebook page? No. Let's get that started right now. That's the fastest thing to do, because the other side with a web page, web page, you can do templates and we can say it's pretty easy to put together. The worst thing about a web page though is one that's not maintained. There's a
Right.
lot of lodges say, "Oh yeah, I've got a web page." Why, go back and see the most recent update is from 2021. What are we talking about?
Yep. Yep.
And so that, I would say, if your web page is outdated, shut your web page down and just really gas up your social media, because they can find anything they want. The other thing on your lodge, go to your Google My Business. It's now Google Business Profile. Go to your Google My Business, and when folks are looking for you, and it's Masonic Lodge New Braunfels, it can pull up in the Google search, and
Yep.
off to the side, your Google business profile, you can put a lot of stuff there. Most people are looking for hours, a website, how to join, and whatnot. So gas that up. It's cheap. It's free. Well, it's free. That's how cheap it is.
Well, yeah, for sure. And if we've had brothers show up at the lodge, new Masons, and how'd you find us? And they've got a number of lodges they can choose from around our area. And they said they just started looking on social media and they could see from our social media feed that we're active, we're doing things, we have events, we have some fellowship. It just looked like we were doing fun stuff. And so they wanted to come check it out. They didn't want to go hunt for a lodge that might be closer. They wanted to come say it
Or to your
helps.
point, you might have five lodges. So we have, in our metropolitan area, we have 9 lodges, right? So you have 9 lodges, and if they all have a Facebook page, now you better have stuff on there that's engaging. And it's something as simple as post a photo at the end of the meeting. If you had a magic wand for masonry, what would you do to improve the message, change the message, speak to our audience today? What would you want that magic one tap of that magic wand to do?
There's still some negativity about what we do in general, right? And because it's secret, right? And I'd love to just have that kind of go away, right? Just it's not as scary a secret as you think it is, right?
Call
Um,
us. We'll give you a lodge tour.
yeah, I tell people, I'm like, I tell people it's as exciting as you want to make it, and it's as boring as you want to make it. I mean,
That's fair.
it's not, it's what you make out of it, right? And if you're interested in the right things and you're like the esoteric stuff, I mean, it can get really, really interesting. If you like to read, philosophy and Manly P. Hall and
Yeah.
get into that stuff, it's very interesting.
We'll push that to the side though too. But if you're just looking for a bond of
Yeah,
men
yep,
who aren't afraid to be men,
yep,
but will tell you the truth,
yep.
it's the original bro code.
Yes,
Masonry is the
exactly.
original bro code. Your friends will lie to you, might even mess with your wife, your girlfriend, but your
Yep.
brothers, that's a totally different game plan.
No, that's a big deal, and that's something that we don't really communicate until you get into it, right? So that's something that's not necessarily out there as much.
But we
How do
are with the original bro code.
Yeah, you're right.
And I don't think that, and it seems like this has become a theme, but there's, over the years, there's been, in my opinion, an attack on masculinity, throwing everything under toxic masculinity, which
Right,
is
right,
such BS to me.
right,
And only men can teach men to be men. And
right.
you want a place for that? It's here. We've always been here.
Yep,
Come to us, right? And again, we will counsel each other and keep each other in the right direction. All the time, we'll also have fun doing it, right?
yeah, absolutely.
So, Sandy, before we bounce out, is there anything that you want the world of masonry to know about this traveling belt?
Hey, it's in Goliad, Texas right now, and it wants to move. So someone's got to go down there and get it. And there's a lot of lodges near Goliad, but hey, I just want people to have fun with it, enjoy it. It's cool to see it travel. It's like having a kid out in the world, see them do stuff. Um, have fun with it, get out and travel with your brothers. It takes a lot of brothers to go get it, so that makes it kind of fun. You get to go do something and increases the intra lodge travel and brotherhood, and it's all positive and people get excited about it, and just go have fun with it and spread it.
I've got a feeling that as this podcast releases, there'll be a lot of belts bought, enough to kind of create that visiting, the inner visitations, and just spreading brotherly love. So, Sandy, I want to thank you for pirating an idea and making it for Texas. So thanks for joining the Old Fashioned Masonic podcast. Cheers.
Yep. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.